In this lecture, we're going to select the root visual element from the document. Our main menu has a single button. However, in the future, it's going to have two buttons. The question becomes, how do we know which button is selected by the user? To get that answer, we must gain access to the document's elements. The goal of this lecture is to grab the root element of the document. Behind the scenes, Unity wraps your elements with a visual element. This element is considered the root element. Let's grab this element. By doing so, we'll have access to all elements of the document. To get started, we're going to load a namespace. Unity has a namespace for querying documents with various methods. Open the UI controller component. At the top of the file, add the Unity engine.UI elements namespace. Adding this namespace exposes Unity's classes for interacting with the elements. Next, in the class, define a variable called UI document component with the UI document class as the type. Our document is being loaded via a component. Therefore, to grab elements from the document, we must access the document from the component. Before caching the component, let's create a variable for storing a reference to the document's root element. Define a variable called root with the visual element class as the type. The visual element class is the class responsible for managing elements created from the visual element. We've used this element a few times in our document. The root element will always be a visual element. Now that we've defined a set of variables, let's set their values. Starting with the component, we will cache a reference to this component in the awake method. Set the UI document component variable to the getComponent UI document method. Grabbing the component should be the first step. Otherwise, we won't be able to grab the elements. After setting this variable, set the root variable to the following value: UI document component dot root visual element. If we were to hover our mouse over this variable, the description states the following: the root visual element where the UI hierarchy starts. Storing a reference to this element is important. Throughout our state files, we're going to be querying the document for various elements. These queries will be performed on the root element. In the next lecture, let's start querying the document for a complete list of buttons.